Good morning and happy Years of the Dragon. My name is Rita Lee, and I am proud to be the director of Dow Daycare Center at Wallach House, which house over 100 immigrants and their families just down the street here in Chinatown. A few years ago, thanks to the program incentive put by the mayor, our tenant will be able to buy their building and confirm their presence in downtown. I'm honored to be here in the stage, here to introduce our mayor. And when she appointed me to serve in the Chinatown Task Force last month, I was so excited to join the discussion, and it would make a difference for the seniors what I work with. We look forward working with the mayor and with the task force, strengthen the Chinatown unique cultural contribution to the downtown and to the city as a whole. So again, Happy New Year. Let me present our wonderful mayor, Mayor Bowser.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. Everybody give a big hand to Rita. I want to thank her for many, many years of her work in Chinatown, her work with our residents, people, longtime residents of Chinatown, who want a seat at the table and want to be a part of the Chinatown's future. And so we know we have a great leader in Rita to discuss that. I want to welcome everybody here. You're going to hear a few words from us. I'm joined today by the council member for Ward 2, Brooke Pinto. Please give Brooke a big round of applause. As well as Metro's General Manager, Randy Clark. Please give him a big round of applause. The Chief of Police, Pamela Smith. Please give her a round of applause. As well as Deputy Mayor Pia, and also Deputy Mayor Albert. The Metropolitan Police Department, members of our Gallery Place Task Force, and members of my cabinet from the Department of Health, the Department of Behavioral Health, likely DGS. Is DGS here? Yeah. I know, that's right. I got to say something about DGS in a second. I'll just say the time between when the chief said, Mayor, I want an office in Chinatown to today was a very short time. So let me thank all of our team members and who DGS is, who are our real estate arm in DC government. Give them a big round of applause. So I also want to add a shout out to the council member, because last week she delivered the first vote to advance the Secure DC bill in the Council of the District of Columbia. Give her a big round of applause for that. It is an omnibus. It has lots of parts, and an important second vote will be coming to the council. And we continue to call on the council to pass it without amendment, not to weaken it, and in fact to look for ways to include items that were excluded in the first reading. We have a real opportunity to rebalance our public safety ecosystem. It's not just an opportunity, it's a necessity. We spent some time in our meeting with the council last month really describing how this ecosystem has been unbalanced over many years, and now we have to urgently rebalance it. Councilmember Pinto also advanced, I believe, in the budget last year, grants that we will, and actually I think Deputy Mayor Pia has already done it, make to community organizations who will advance safety on commercial corridors. We want to expand the notion of what it means to have a safe commercial corridor by opening hubs like this one. And I described this hub as part MPD substation. I think the chief likes that part. And part neighborhood and human services. And these hubs will be, let me say this one. This is the first one. And we expect to open 2 more, one on U Street and the other in Anacostia. These hubs will be staffed by multiple outreach teams that cover public safety, human services, behavioral health, and community relations. They will work together to connect residents to services, increase our visibility in these corridors, and the teams can respond more quickly to immediate challenges. The Chinatown hub will be open from walk-ins from the community, and we continue to work on the operational plan. And our initial plan is Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. To 6 p.m. We've started the year with downward trends in crime, both in this neighborhood and citywide. But we know we have to work even more urgently and keep that up. We not only want people to be safe, but feel safe. And if people are engaging in criminal activity, we know as a community we have sent the clear message that they will be held accountable. If people need mental or behavioral health care, we also have teams that can intervene to help them there too. And so we want to make sure that we have all of our team members working as urgently as they can with our residents that need help. And so when we talk about a whole of government approach to public safety, these are the people and teams who are working together every day to make sure that we're doing all that we can with the government's resources. And so with that, I want to introduce the Ward 2 council member who I have also asked to serve as a member of the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force and who chairs the Committee on Public Safety. Brooke Pinto.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Bowser, to you and your entire team, who I imagine have been working around the clock to get this up and running, and is exactly what people are looking for when it comes to whole of government response to crime, a place where there can be not only eyes and ears on the ground, but response and follow-up. There are so many nuances for so many of these cases that we're seeing, and to provide that wraparound support and care and follow-up and help with navigation through government resources is going to be so invaluable. And I know that for this location, but also for the locations that you mentioned starting here in Chinatown, at U Street, and in Anacostia, through all of my public safety walks in those neighborhoods, visits, bike rides, late night drive-alongs, everything that we've been doing collectively together, residents are clamoring for this type of care and follow-up and attention, and I know it will be so welcomed in each of those neighborhoods. As Mayor Bowser mentioned, last year we started a pilot for Safe Commercial Corridors grants in downtown Shaw and Adams Morgan, and part of the Secure DC legislation that the council will vote on, hopefully unanimously, on Tuesday, March 5th, will include an expansion of these grants for all commercial corridors throughout our city, because it is a really important recognition of how we need public safety focus in our commercial corridors, just like all of our neighborhoods, and our more residential neighborhoods. So I'm thrilled to be here today. I'm thrilled for the real life impact that this hub is going to have on residents and visitors and businesses in this neighborhood. And I'm also thrilled for the very clear message that this sends and that this should send, which is that we get it. We know that the status quo is not acceptable. We are turning things around. And the District of Columbia and Chinatown and downtown is an excellent place to live, to visit, to do business, to come do business if you're thinking about it. And so I am thrilled to be a part of this effort here today, and want to thank Mayor Bowser again for her continued focus on these pressing issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you again. Chief Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. I don't I want to stand in front of you, ma'am, respectfully. All right. Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It is certainly a pleasure to be here today and to be in a space that I have longed for probably over the last 6 months since I've been in this space. You know, the mayor appointed me as chief of police. I have constantly spent time listening to our community members and that have shared with me what they would like to see in their communities. They often share that they want to see more police officers in their neighborhoods and how they feel safe when they're police officers in their communities. I've also heard stories of positive interactions that our officers have had within our communities across the District of Columbia. What I'd love to hear the most is when the community know our officers by name due to their engaging relationship-based policing in these areas. Under the leadership of Mayor Bowser, it is my pleasure to join her here today to announce the several safe commercial corridor hubs that we will bring to the District of Columbia in 3 various areas. You heard her talk about here in Chinatown, the U Street corridor, as well as historic Anacostia. Specifically for the Metropolitan Police Department, these community hubs will provide accessibility to police services. It will also increase our Metropolitan Police Department presence in select neighborhoods by providing a place where our officers can come to complete critical administrative tasks and then get back out into the field in order to be present for our businesses as well as our visitors and residents. And we will also be able to provide a greater response time to this neighborhood and to other areas when things are happening within real time. One of the things I do want to point out is that in each location, the times may vary based on the fact that we will have resources provided that is specific to what's happening in that particular neighborhood. This is another opportunity to strengthen the bond between the agencies who serve our community based on their needs. And it's important that our officers are policing with purpose, that we're serving with care, and we will continue to be accessible, approachable, responsive to the unique needs of our neighborhoods. And I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, who constantly listens to me and hear me when I come up with some of these ideas that oftentimes cause people to move very fastly and very quick in this space. And this, again, was something that I approached her about back in December, and I really wanted it to be an MPD satellite office, and the mayor, with her brilliance and creativity in this space, said, you know what, Pamela, why don't we make this something a little bit broader by bringing in our DBH personnel as well as our DHS personnel. And it's certainly been an honor to just be in this space and to work with the individuals who will be providing the services that is needed. I also want to thank Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah for her continued support as well of our law enforcement program and the efforts that we provide specifically around public safety. I also want to thank our officers, and I have to say this, I have to thank our officers who every single day come to work to provide a public safety efforts to our communities. What you will find here in the Chinatown and gallery place is that our officers will be on footbeats. I know some folks have talked about having officers on footbeat. You know, every now and then I get out there and I walk a footbeat myself. But our officers will be on footbeats, and they will also serve on bike patrols. And then lastly, I'd like to thank the community. One of the things that I said when I came into this position was that I will hear from you, and the decisions that we make will reflect the things that you share with us during town halls, during community safety walks. And today is the result of what you have shared with us that you want to see as it relates to public safety. So thank you for your continued support, and thank you for your efforts as we continue to drive crime down here in the District of Columbia.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. And General Manager Clark.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Well, I'll join with congratulating the mayor, Councilmember Pinto, and the entire D.C. government on this opening of this beautiful facility. Obviously, the importance for us is right across the street from Gallery Place, which is one of our most important, obviously, stations here in the community. I also want to take a moment and recognize Chief Anzalo, our Chief of Police, all of our, just as Chief Smith did, all of our officers as well. It is an amazing partnership to watch on a daily basis. All of our officers work together. It's one mission of making the entire community safe. Obviously, wherever Metro goes is where a lot of communities members go. So we have to make sure the subway and the bus all work safely, just like on the street. So we look forward to really engaging at this center here, and Chief, with your leadership as well. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight here at Metro, in the nexus of public safety. Ridership is going up, and that is a really important thing for us here. Yes. I saw a couple of these in the crowd. I like that. That's what we like to see. Last week, actually, we had our highest 8 to 9 a.m. peak hour since the pandemic. Yes. We had the most federal employees on the system last week since the pandemic. And every week, we are seeing that trend go forward, and we really appreciate that. Another thing I want to highlight is customer satisfaction. It's how we measure what we're doing here at Metro. Right now, we have 88%, the highest customer satisfaction in the history of Metro on our rail system. We are performing really well, and we want people back on this system, and we really encourage you to get out there. Although we've made progress on public safety on the system, it is one of those areas, obviously perception-wise, we are going to keep working on. But I want to highlight a couple facts, and I'll do these kind of quickly, with all, again, the good work that we're doing as a collaborative, our agencies. Crime is down 13% year over year on the Metro system. We've enforcement is up over 600% across the system. We have partnerships with 5 local police departments, including a great one here at MPD. And Mayor, thank you again for your leadership, bringing in those resources on, especially on the AM and PM peaks. But we have other departments doing that as well. We have special police officers. We have 100 special police officers out on the system, complementing our police department every day. They are riding trains in the district. As an example, we have 25 pairs of special police officers that only ride trains in the district, up and down the train all day long. We have over 30,000 cameras in our system. So we are actually doing that to monitor security. Obviously, we work very closely with MPD on case closure. So it's one, again, community all coming together. And I also want to highlight we have a community intervention team. And we have, I think we're up to 10 now crisis intervention specialists, and they work in this type of model here with this room, which is how to get people assistance when they need it, because not everything requires a police officer enforcement. Sometimes we need to help people get assistance in other ways. Lastly, I want to mention we have a Metro Lift program, and that's really designed, and we hope to activate that maybe more in this type of facility with our partners at DC, which is if you're on SNAP, you can get 50% reduced fare. So we're really trying to get people on that. If you need a hand up, just go to WMATA.com. We'll help you there, because we are really working hard on fare enforcement. Fare enforcement is wherever we put our new gates. Most people have seen those. They're across the street at Gallery. 70% reduction in fare evasion. Wherever we put our new gates, we are going to continue to secure our system. This is America's transit system, and we are going to continue to be a very safe system to get people out there. So I just want to, again, thank all of our law enforcement partners for the work you do every day, and Mayor, for your leadership. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I also want to acknowledge several leaders here. I mentioned our DBH director, Dr. Barbara Bazron, who is going to be a key partner here. Jackie Reyes, the director of the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs. Laura Zeilinger, the DGH, Department of Human Services director. Dr. Bennett, the DOH director. Rich Reyes Gavlin from DC Public Libraries. Angie Gates from Events DC. And Jaron Price from the Downtown DC Bid. Give them all a round of applause for their help with this. Okay, so I'm going to take a few questions. I'm going to let you all mingle and do whatever, or you can stand here and take questions too, but I would suggest that you mingle. Any questions? Yes, sir. Yes.
Hi. On Sunday, less than a block from here at the Walgreens, there was an unfortunate armed robbery in which a suspect was shot by a security guard after he took another security guard's gun. Can you address that and what sort of impact that might have, or what this office might be able to do?
I'm going to let the chief answer that, and the chief is going to have a lot to say about it.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for that question, Peter. So what I will say about the incident that occurred on last evening, specifically at the Walgreens, we did have special police officers assigned to Walgreens. And to your initial statement, Peter, the suspect did disarm the first the SPO. And then the second SPO was alerted. They were in a back room of the Walgreens area. The second special police officer engaged the suspect and discharged his firearm. What I will tell you is that we have been working with the FBI on these particular robberies that have occurred here in Walgreens since July of last year. We were closing in on this suspect, and he came back again. And again, I will say this, special police officers have the power and the authority to do the things that they're doing here with regards to apprehension and preventing crime. And that particular officer did exactly what needed to happen in this particular space. We do anticipate that there will be additional arrests. The subject that was shot was obviously sent to a local hospital with critical injuries. However, he has been charged with 7 robberies specific to this Walgreens, and we do anticipate making additional arrests on this particular case.
7 robberies at this same person with 7?
That is correct, sir.
Walgreens 7 previous times?
Yes, sir.
The robbery on Sunday, was it an attempted robbery or was it a robbery? The police report indicates some money was taken, so I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if money was taken, if he ended up shot or, I think we may have been able to recover whatever was taken on that particular
Took
night.
money before he was shot.
I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
That's part of the investigation. Our force investigation team and our criminal investigation division will conduct the investigation on that. And so if there's additional information, we'll make sure we share it with the public.
Any other robberies in the area that this person or this group is?
This just happened last night. I think my team worked very, very intentional last night to determine who this suspect was. I mean, there were a lot of factors that precipitated to determine that this was the guy, but we're still conducting the investigation. We'll be able to share
One
with you
more
later.
broader question, Chief.
Yes, sir.
In August, when there were some concerns raised at a community meeting about crime in this particular area, Mr. Graves, the U.S. Attorney, said they were trying to address it through barring notices and stay away notices. Some of the people who were being arrested. It's been several months. Has that practice been effective at all, or has it been studied to see if it works?
Well, what I can tell you is that I have been in very close communication and relationship with U.S. Attorney Matt Graves, and when we ask for stay-away orders, they have been granted.
Chief, a follow-up on Peter's question in regards to robberies. Robberies are indeed up 12%.
Correct.
Last time I checked.
That is
Everything else
correct.
seems to be
Everything
headed
else
down.
Right, and
Based on your intelligence, your gathering, do you believe that we have the same people who are repeatedly involved in these robberies, like this gentleman? Do we think this is a circle or a concerted effort where there are just groups of folks committing all of these additional robberies?
So what I will say, Daddy, is that, oftentimes, so robberies, what you see as far as the 12% increase, it also includes our carjackings, and for every robbery, even if it's one person charged, all of those count as one, right? And so this gentleman has been charged with 7 robberies. We do believe that some of these are the same individuals that are committing these crimes. As you eloquently stated, the other areas of crime is down. We are working very, very hard with our robbery suppression unit. I've also stood up a team effective December 1, specifically related to quality of life crimes, to include our robberies. We still have a robbery suppression unit that works every single day. As a matter of fact, I can't wait till the Real-Time Crime Center is operational at the end of this month so that we can really be closely engaged in some of these robberies. The problem is, and I'll share this with you, is that sometimes when we report to some of these establishments, the cameras are very grainy. We can't see really the individuals and sometimes the vehicles. But having the Real-Time Crime Center up and running will help us to be able to quickly get information out to the public so that we can apprehend some of these suspects. So what I will say is that we're working very hard to make sure that we bring crime down, and robbery seems to be one of the driving factors. And it's important to me because I'll say this to you. Anytime there's a number, that's a victim, and every victim is a person, right? And so we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we are driving crime down on those areas where people begin to feel like they're afraid, right? This is not a moment of celebration for me because the numbers are down, because I do understand that people still feel afraid. And it's my job to make sure that we remove that behavior out of the element of the District of Columbia, and we're going to do it. Anybody else have any questions? Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Rebecca with 7 News. Question for the mayor. If you can speak about the uniqueness of these new hubs and how you hope they'll help with overall crime prevention efforts.
Well, I think that we have had an experience some years back with a police substation in Chinatown and some other places in D.C. that we still have substations. But what we know, while we have, and we want to have a place for our police officers, we want to have a place for Metro Transit to drop in other of our personnel who are on the road. We also know that there are a lot of human services needs here. And so having our people who are out always having a place where they can have a headquarters in Chinatown and in some of these other areas is very important.
And talk about the reasoning of this specific location.
We have a lot of human services needs here, and we want to be very visible with those. But we also, and I'm not going to talk about law enforcement because we had a chief of police here, but we know some of the questions that have already been asked also respond very well to police visibility. And so having a place where our police who are out all the time can use this as a stopping place, a report writing place, a answer calls place while they're out on the street, we think will be helpful in increasing visibility. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mayor. Eric
Hi.
Flack, WUSA 9.
Hi.
Hi. Over the weekend, you published an op-ed in which you seemed to potentially call into question Ted Leonsis' legacy if he goes through with this move. You put out a tweet calling his intention to leave a break of the lease. They responded, saying they had the right to do it. So my question is twofold. One, what is your impression of how Ted Leonsis has handled this potential separation with D.C.? And two, if things fall apart in Virginia, and they're looking to have a little bit of difficulty right now, can that relationship be repaired to move forward with some sort of agreement in future here in D.C.?
Eric, thank you for that question. Listen, we've been in business with Monumental for a long time. They are an important part of our community. And what I meant to communicate in that op-ed is that these are our teams. And I'm actually repeating what the ownership has said, that the teams really belong to the city. And so we want our teams. And so we want to be very clear about that. We also want to be clear that we and I have a responsibility to do what's best for DC taxpayers, and we are prepared to work hand in hand with Monumental. We have a $500 million offer on the table. I laid out in my op-ed why that is unequivocally the best deal. It's the most certain. It will deliver, and it can deliver in the stated time, and it doesn't have the associated problems that a shifting use would have. Yes, Mark.
Mayor Bowser, staying on this topic, it appears I infer your op-ed as a threat to take litigation. And so I'm wondering what you think the legal standing is. You know, Mr. Leonsis tweeted out the part of the lease that gives him the opt-out in 2027. You continue to say if the teams leave, you'll enforce the lease. What is your legal standing? Do you believe he can legally opt out in 2027 if he pays off that bond? Or do you think for some reason that is legally insufficient? And I'll have a follow-up.
Well, Mark, I won't be able to talk about our legal strategy, but we have one.
Well, what does that mean?
I won't be able to talk about our
legal. You talked about it. You're the
No,
one who
I
put it-
didn't.
You
I
put
did
it
not.
out there. You said you'll enforce the lease. What
Well,
does that mean, you'll enforce the lease?
It means like any lease that I have anywhere in the District of Columbia. I expect that we are going to go through any agreement that we have to make sure that DC taxpayers are protected, and this case is no different.
Again, if I could just...
I will not talk about strategy.
Well, then can I ask another question about... Mr. Leonsis did a round of interviews
We saw.
And a couple of things he said really kind of rang... I won't characterize how they rang with people. I want to know how they rang with you. When he said things like the small business owners who would be impacted in a negative way are not his constituents, basically saying that he doesn't care about what happens to them. He's more worried about his players and his fans and his bottom line than the small businesses that have grown up and depend on the arena and the teams being there. And then he went on to talk about how Metro isn't safe, how restaurants aren't safe, how the city doesn't communicate with the team well on things like traffic and whatnot. What is your overall reaction to the things that he said in those interviews?
Well, the thing that rings true with me is what he said at the announcement in Virginia, which is what this is about, and you shouldn't be confused. And I also wrote it in my op-ed, that for the team, their decision is based on how much money they can make and on being able to develop a new arena from ground up. That's what I believe. Now, my constituency are the small businesses. They are DC residents. Actually, there are the fans that come from Maryland and Virginia too. They're the players, and they're monumental sports. And so we, as a government, want to work not only to make the decision that's best for DC. We believe it's best for the fans. We know it's best for the region. We actually also think it's best for monumental sports. Yes.
Hi, Mayor. I just had a couple of follow-ups on that note. The 2000 amendment to the ground lease that Mark alluded to, it does say they can end the lease early if the bonds are paid off. I just wanted to clarify if the city intends to honor that provision of the ground lease, or when you say you want to enforce it through 2047, if the city does not intend to honor that provision of the ground lease.
Let me just say this, and you're getting into the bucket of legal strategy, so I won't talk about that. I will say I have no intention of paying off the bonds early.
So can we follow up? How does that work? Is a private citizen able to give the government money and earmark it for a specific payoff like this? And you say you won't use that money.
That's not our expectation, Mark. And again, I'm not going to talk about a legal strategy. Anything else? Yes.
Mayor, first back to what you announced today and how it works practically. There's been an emphasis in recent years on non-MPD resources, and also in this announcement, non-MPD resources for dealing with substance use issues, people facing mental health issues. There are folks in this community who have relied on that, but that have asked at ANC meetings, MPD, about who they're supposed to call when it's a non-MPD issue, and they've been told, you know, the other offices that are supposed to take care of that aren't staffed yet, and redirecting them back to MPD. So they feel like there's been this emphasis on non-MPD resources, but it's not there. And how is this going to change that, if at all? And I have one more question.
I'm not entirely if a citizen has a question that's related to public safety in any way, they should call 911. If they don't know who to call, they should call 311, and we'll take care of it.
They get directed from 911 back to substance abuse hotlines and other places they're supposed to go, but then they can't do anything because there's not staffing there. They feel like they're getting bounced back and forth, just particularly about substance abuse and mental health issues that are happening right here on these streets, these two blocks.
I think that these blocks are good examples of chronic issues that we have to have good strategies for. And if what we're doing is not working, then we have to develop new strategies. And so that's what everybody here, whether it's going to happen here, what's going to happen with the directors, we want to be focused on people who really need help getting help.
And last question, you said during today's announcement, part of this community has been imbalanced for years and we need to urgently rebalance it. We heard from the council member, we get that the status quo is not acceptable and we're going to work on it. Is there a sense, combined with, you're already talking about potential legal strategy with monumental sports and them leaving, is there a sense that this might be too little too late in this particular area?
What we know is monumental sports has done very well here. So I don't want you to be confused. They have made more money at this location in the last 3 years since COVID than they have ever made before. These events are packed, concerts, boxing, and the games, even though we don't have teams that are winning. So monumental sports is doing just fine here. That's not to say that they don't have legitimate concerns and a legitimate expectation that we address those concerns. Yes.
Yes, Mayor, a quick question for the chief, and please weigh in if you'd like, about, it was mentioned that some of these hubs might deal with drug-related issues, possibly. And there was one recent incident of an overdose, a fentanyl overdose, where 2 individuals, they were members of the LGBT community, died of an overdose. And some family members say that MPD may be investigating about the supplier when fentanyl is added to drugs without the knowledge of the victims. And I was just wondering, does MPD have a policy, or is there any way the situation could be investigated to determine if anyone is responsible for an overdose by putting in fentanyl or supplying something with fentanyl without the knowledge of a victim?
Well, as you know, that any crime or anything that we believe has happened or occurred due to an overdose death, we always make sure that there's a thorough investigation conducted. What I will say is that, we have programs. We have our DBH, DHS, and other programs that are really viable programs here in the District of Columbia who will respond to those situations where we have opioid overdoses and things like that, and members of the family, and provide the services that are needed. We also work very closely with DEA and the U.S. Attorney's Office, especially when we recognize that there is a supplier. I mean, I'm sure you've been watching the news because you guys report everything. I'm sure you've been watching the news in November when the DEA and U.S. Attorney Matt Graves and myself brought a case, a closure in a particular case where it expanded over several states specifically related to fentanyl. And so we will continue to do that for every single case that we come in contact with, where we believe, based on our investigative tools, that there are some other folks that may be engaged in some sort of nefarious activity regarding that overdose. Okay? Yes, sir.
Oh, I just have 2 quick questions for the chief. Rebecca, 7 News. Yep.
Hey.
Can you talk about the strategy behind this specific?
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
The strategy behind this specific location as it relates to crime prevention, and why you're so eager to have more of a presence in Chinatown.
Well, it's not just eager to have a presence in Chinatown, but in other areas across the District of Columbia. This is just the first site that we've stood up, and I think it's really important that since I've been in this position, that the community continues to talk about wanting to see police presence, right? We conduct community safety walks every single week in every single community, and people are still coming out and people are still asking for additional presence. What you're seeing here in this particular area, we've already launched the foot beats in this space. We've already launched the bicycle patrol. So our officers are already here. We work very, very closely with WMATA right across the street. We do several different operations. And so my aspect in this space is that when something happens in this area, we have a quicker response time, that we're not too far away either to our main station or another substation, but the officers are right here, boots on the ground, working in this space every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, along with our DBH and DHS and Jackie's personnel in this space to ensure that we keep this community safe. And I think the mayor was very eloquent in her statement when she said, listen, this isn't just about crime. Our numbers are down in this area year to date from last year significantly. But it's about making sure that we can quickly get services to individuals who are suffering. I mean, I've said that over and over again. This is much larger than just police services. We have members and residents across the District of Columbia. If they don't want to go to the services, we'll bring the services to them. And this is exactly what it is. And we'll do that in all 3 locations.
All right. All right, we're going to wrap up now. We're going to stick around to mingle, and please. Sure.
You haven't commented publicly on Chris Rodriguez returning to work. I see he's here today.
Yes.
Can you explain your reasoning after your internal investigation, after he was arrested, why, 1, you decided to bring him back, but 2, not to bring him back as the OCTO director?
Absolutely. We did conduct an internal investigation, and what that showed me was that Chris could return to work and be a high-level and high-functioning official in our administration. We also decided in the interim that our leadership at OCTO was doing an amazing job, and we were going to stick with that at the moment. And that we want Chris to focus on leadership over our internal services. So that's why.
What message does that send to victims of domestic violence?
It sends the message that I take domestic violence very seriously. I have conducted an investigation, and after that investigation, I treated my employee fairly. And that's what everybody should know.
Chief Smith, could you comment on your officer who's being investigated in Montgomery County for allegedly sexually assaulting a woman while on duty inside an MPD cruiser, which Montgomery County Police have now impounded? This seems, I don't recall an instance where another jurisdiction has impounded one of your vehicles.
And so what I can say is because it's under investigation, I cannot talk about the investigation specifically. There have been some alleged allegations against one of the members of the Metropolitan Police Department, specifically related to the comment that you made. And as you know, we take these things very seriously in the Metropolitan Police Department, and I will wait for the results of the investigation to determine what the next steps will be.
All right, thank you, everybody. So, in a few minutes, I'm going to head off to my next meeting, and I think we're going to take a ride on our beautiful metro system. America's metro system for sure, but DC's metro system especially. Thank you, everybody.